Hello, people. How are you guys? Adam is here, Mario is here, Gene is here,
Hey, Jean.
Glenn is here, Adam is here. Oh my God, so
Hey,
many cameras.
sorry.
I love that. Right?
Adam White,
Be
it's
like
so
this
good to
side.
see you.
That's so good, guys. Hello and welcome to our Thursday's expert call. And today we have the woman, the moose, the legend, right? Alicia Jarrett with us, and she's like somebody that we had a lot of time see because I admire her so much, and I love working with her. And she's probably one of the best persons in the industry to talk about acquisitions, market trends, market selection, because she has an insight to so many people what's going on. And I'm super, super happy that you're here.
Thanks for having
Just at
me.
yeah. Like, I mean, I think almost everybody knows you, but give us like a 1 minute heads up who you are, what you do, and then we're gonna just like dive deep today in all secrets of acquisitions. How about that?
Let's jump in. But yeah, I do know quite a few names on this call. The only ones I probably don't really know is Jill, Glenn. That's it. I think I know everybody else. So yeah,
All
we'll
right,
jump
cool.
on in. But for those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting before, as you can tell by the accent, I'm an Aussie. So Robin and I both have the combined experience of doing deals from the other side of the world. Currently here in Sarasota, Florida, guys, which I'm loving, which is lots of fun. But my background, I've been doing business now and real estate in the US for 9 years. So I'm coming up on a decade, which has gone so fast. So we started with fixing and flipping houses. We then got into vacant land, which when we first started, which is why some of you on here I'm working with at the moment. When we first started, we were finding that we were just getting super overwhelmed with how much there is to do in this business, right? And we had six different companies that we were going to for all of our acquisitions marketing. And so about 6 years ago now, we're into our sixth year. My business partner Matt and I sat down and said, how can we consolidate these six kind of all into one so that we're going to be consistent with our pipeline? We're going to be more predictable with our marketing spend and our leads that are coming through. And we don't need to outsource it to like half a dozen VAs, right? We can get this all done. And that's where Supercharged Offers was born, guys. It was really out of our own personal need to have our business run more efficiently and with more consistency. Because, like some of you on this call, we were experiencing the roller coaster, right? It was 1 month when we did some marketing, we got leads and we got deals, and then we focused on that. And then for the next 2 or 3 months, the pipeline was completely dried up because we were spending our time and energy on getting deals closed, right? So once we started to implement this, we found that we started to get consistency. And now we work with hundreds of other real estate investors across all different types of asset classes, which I find super exciting, on becoming part of their team. So obviously we've got a few people on this call that are customers, which is wonderful.
I think this is what I love about you. You're like such an experienced business person, and what I admire about you and Matt is that you always like think, okay, what else can we solve? What else can we solve? What else can we solve? Right? And this is supercharged offers today. The buyer finder, I know you plan like great other things where I can't talk
Oh,
about,
I
right?
got some great stuff I can share with you guys today about where we're going
Yeah,
next, which is going to be super exciting. So hold on to your hats for
I
this one, guys.
I love that. But like let me kick this off a little bit, right? So like a couple of you I told them already, right? I started my wholesale operation last year again, right? And we do it with you, Alicia, and as lead provider, but um how did it get to that? Was like last year, I was like just like spend like probably half a year to connect with the industry leaders,
Yeah.
right? The people that really do millions of dollars in profits they take home. And I asked them, what are you doing? And I just give this question to you right now because, like, hey, what's working in marketing in 2025 to get seller leads, to get all of that? Like,
Yeah.
get us your nuggets. What do you see right now, live in February 6th, 2025? What do you see
Yep.
working?
Yep. I love that we're starting here, guys, because this is the tough stuff. Let me preface this though by coming off of the end of 2024. So here's the insider scoop here, guys. If you see people out there going, 2024 was a great year. Yeah, I did all these records. I did this, I did that. 2024 was one of the toughest years we've ever seen in real estate. And if you delve into the research around even just single family homes, right? So there was hardly any inventory on the market for that. Interest rates and inflation, throw in an election and, land. It was this melting pot of a really tough year. So therefore, a lot of people last year started to lean into, well, that marketing's not working and that lead gen's not working. My pay-per-click's no longer working. But what wasn't working was the market. And I think what we need to pause and reflect on is that the market always goes in cycles. Okay. And those cycles are predicated by what? Supply and demand in the market, interest rates and inflation, political unrest, fear. That was said with an Aussie accent. So what I meant was FEAR, fear. Because sometimes I say that word and people are like, what did you say, AJ? So all those things in 2024 kind of combined to have a pretty tough year for a lot of people. I'm already seeing a huge improvement so far in January and February. We've got customers now saying that they're seeing an uptake in sellers wanting to now do deals because there's more confidence in the market. And now that the administration's in and there's no more uncertainty around a few things, we're already seeing a lot more people buying properties again. Interest rates and inflation are starting to get under control. Builders are starting to sell properties that are, house and land combined, things like that. So that's my preface to my answer about what's working and what's not working. So does that all make sense, guys, about what we're coming off the back of? Yep.
Absolutely. And
No, it's great.
I
So,
think
so let me,
that's a beautiful piece of that, right? That's what everybody needs to understand. Like
yeah,
we were 10
never a
years
perfect
and
time in the market. Yeah, it's always
yeah, it was
up and
10
down.
years where it just went up, right? Like it just everything was perfect for 10, 12
Yeah.
years, right? And there was never really a ditch, even like in the real estate world in COVID, like nothing really happened there. It just
We all thought
shifted,
the world
right?
was about to come to an end and it went to a boom rather than a bust.
Yeah,
It's
that's
interesting.
what it is.
So,
So
so if I
no,
then
no, I love
talk,
that. Go ahead.
can I talk to, so I wanted to preface that because your actual question to me, Robin, is what's working at the moment? There's a lot of things that are working, guys, but one thing I will say is what does work is consistency. So marketing takes time. Like if you're about to send out some direct mail, it takes time for that mail to hit. It takes time for people to respond. So you've got to think about your marketing message, and I call it market message match, is the right time in the right market with the right message. What does that mean? It's got to be data driven. So we're seeing that direct mail is still working, but it's not just a blanket approach out to everyone to go, here's my blind offer, off we go. Or it's not just a neutral letter out to everyone to go, hey, I'm buying land in the area. What we're tending to see in our customers doing direct mail is that we're segmenting those mailers down to 3 or 4 mail pieces. And the data behind that is very, very niche. So when we're doing mailers, we're looking at, okay, who's the out of state, out of county owners? They're going to get this mail piece. And it might be more like a handwritten note that says, hey, we know that you live out of state and maybe you haven't visited your property in a while. We're actively buying in the area and we'd love to go and visit your property. Do I have your permission to do that? So it might be something that's more niche like that, right? Out of state, out of county. You then might have a separate mailer that talks to your larger properties that could be potential subdivide deals. Hey, I want to reach out. We're actually doing some subdivisions. We're working with builders and developers in the area. We want to talk to you about potentially partnering on your property. Very different mailer. Then you could have all your probate people, okay? People that have acquired the property through a quick claim deed, or it's gone through a $100 transaction or less, or there's been an intra-family transfer, which is the other data points there. Then if you're interested in doing probate deals, because there's a lot of money to be made in probate deals, guys, if you're willing to work through the problems, then that message is landing. So market message match when it comes to mailers is really what's working, not just a blanket approach anymore. We're also finding though, our cold call team is blitzing it. We are, oh my goodness, we're getting people so many leads that they often don't know what to do with them, which is a good problem to have. In this industry, guys, you've got good problems and you got bad problems. A good problem is too many leads. A bad problem is not being able to service all those leads, right? So that's where we can work together on the cadence of that. So having that combined, cold calling, and when we do cold calling, guys, what we're finding that's working there for, again, market message match. So for your just standard property infill lot, where you've bought properties before and you know that market, The script that we're using for that is very much just on the back of, hey, we've already bought some properties in this area and we need more inventory. Can we have a conversation with you about your property? Okay, so that's for that. The second thing is for those of you on this call that are doing larger properties, subdivide deals, things like that, the script can be quite different. The script is, hey, we're actually working with builders and developers. We're looking for properties in the area that are very specific in their criteria that we may then be able to get you an at market or above market if you're willing to work with us. Let's find out some questions on those properties. And then what we're doing there, guys, what's working best there is we're booking them into a consultation call with you. So it's an appointment setter, not just a cold call. Okay. Now we can segment out those campaigns to really match what your strategy is and what your data is. The third element, so I've said direct mail works, but it has to be more customized. Cold calling and appointment setting works, and we can segment that out. But here's the gold. If you combine them, it's working wonders. So think of everyone else out there that's doing direct mail. Okay. They're sending out direct mail, as are you. Property owners, especially in popular areas, property owners are getting bombarded with different messages and different mailers. What if they got 10 mailers in the last 2 weeks? What if you were the only person that the week after the mail was sent called them and said, hey, we know you're probably getting a bunch of mail at the moment, but we want to talk about the one that we sent. It looks like this, it's got this logo on it, and this is a little bit about us. In all the mailers that you're getting, I know it's pretty overwhelming, but we'd love to move you onto a consultation call with our team if you are perhaps interested. So now you're starting to stand out. Okay. Now you can do that before a mailer to test a market, or you can use it to follow up on your mailers as well. We've even got some customers that we're sending out blind or range offers for. And the follow-up call is a negotiation call saying we sent you an offer for 25,000. We want to know if we're close to the mark or not. If we are, I'm going to warm transfer you over to our acquisitions manager so you can talk now. If we're not, I'm going to book you in for a negotiation call with our lead manager. How does that sound? So again, it's really making sure that whatever activity you're doing on the marketing front, guys, I want you to really think strategically about what you're doing, when you're doing it, and how do you stand out from other people out there, right? Because everyone's doing the same stuff. It's those little things that we can do that start to really make sure that we can differentiate where possible. And I know that was a super long answer, Robin. So if you want to break that down anymore, let's go for it.
Like I listen to you and I think there's so much value in that. I have a good friend, and I think just Mario knows him because Mario speaks German and is from Austria, right? Because we are like one big thing. So there's a really famous realtor in a broker in the island of Mallorca. His name is Marcel Ramos, and he calls it in German the four A's, which is anders als alle anderen, which means different than everybody else. And I think this is what you need to do. You need to stand out. You need to think through differently, right?
Yep.
And when you send letters, when you how you talk to people, you need to really give them an experience. And I just can tell from my perspective, would you just say you call them on Tuesday at 11 a.m. and then you call them on Tuesday 11 a.m., then you're probably better than 99% of your competitors.
Yeah,
Does that make
totally.
sense? Like, be
Yep.
reliable, be a good person to speak to, and that's where all the magic is, right? Stand a little bit out, be different, and give them something they really want, right?
Yeah.
There's a good book here. I can't. Who doesn't know that $100 million offers from Alex
Ah,
Ramosi, right?
Hormozy.
And the subtitle is How to Make Offers So Good People Feel Stupid Saying No. And this is the
Yeah.
kind of experience we need to create. However, you do that, right? We will not reveal all the secrets today, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
um, you want to stack on that?
Yeah, well, I guess can we pause? Does anyone have questions on what I've just talked through? No
I think we're
question?
good. I have a question for you. Come on,
Yeah.
let's do it. What are the
Go.
markets that work right now? Like when we look into market selection, let me ask you more general. What things should people look for in market selection? What is the right thing to do from your perspective? We made a huge call in our comps call last week about that, where we made like
Yep.
a life example, how to get in the right markets, how to look on that. What's your answer on that?
Look, again, we can probably talk about this for hours, right? But there's a couple of key principles to keep in mind, guys. And the first thing is don't overthink it. A lot of people spend absolute days trying to get certainty on a market. Now, here's why I say don't overthink it. There comes a point in time when as long as you've got enough information to get a feel for what's happening in that market, just go for it. Okay. What does that feel need to look like? So you want to have a look and make sure that there's a throughput of deals, that supply and demand is in kind of it's in equilibrium is probably the word to use there, right? There's properties that are being transacted. Doesn't need to mean that there's hundreds of them because you don't want to get oversaturated, but in the last 6 to 12 months, you've seen that there's properties that are moving. And when you look at what's for sale, there's often not as many for sale as what there has been that's been transacted, because then you've got this tension between supply and demand. The other thing you want to look at is investor-friendly counties and investor-friendly states. So if you're new to doing deals, maybe stick to the disclosure states first of all, because that's going to make it easier for you to run your comps. If it's an attorney only closing state and you're just starting out, again, maybe do that later on when you're a bit more experienced. So just thinking of those gotchas that can kind of trip up a deal, right? If it's a non-wholesale state, so things like South Carolina, that's okay, but just make sure that you've got a strategy in place. So I do a call every second Tuesday, guys. It's free for anyone to come on to. It's basically called a fund my deal call. So if you're doing a state where wholesaling's not tolerated, probably the best word to use, or illegal, then you want to make sure that your numbers in the deal stack up and you can have a funder that's going to partner with you on that deal. So come along every Tuesday, 4 o'clock. If you want the details, just message me. I'll get that over to you. So understanding those gotchas that can trip up on a deal. Then once you've gotten into the markets, couple of things that you want to research in markets, and ChatGPT can do all of this for you, but so can Google. What you want to talk about is what is the top 200 or top 100 growth path cities or counties in the US. Just top 100 or top 200. Get some information on that. Okay. Then what you want to do is say, out of those top 100 or 200, what are the most saturated in terms of population, or there's another word I'm looking for here. What's the most saturated in terms of population and properties? Because maybe those top ones are too hot and you want to stay out of them. So what you're really looking for is those medium to hottish markets where it's not in a major city, but it's in an area that's got growth. The other things that you can start to research, obviously supply and demand I mentioned, but you want to research things like unemployment rate, infrastructure. So you can use ChatGPT to ask it questions about in these top 50, when you get it down to your top 50, maybe, what are the ones that have counties that and the cities that are actively investing in infrastructure, jobs, progression? Because if you're investing in a city where things are going downward like this, again, that has an impact. So inflation, job markets, supply and demand, it's all driven by macroeconomics. So just start to think through that lens of macroeconomics, get it down to a couple of states and counties that you feel like that's pretty good. Properties the throughput's good on these properties. There's a demand there because there's more being sold than what there is on the market. Then do a test. So how do you test? So for those, there's quite a few on here that are working with us at the moment. So if you're testing new markets, you might get it down to 5 or 6 areas, and we start cold calling those areas, and we just do 1,000 in each of them. And then we get back leads, because it's not until you've got leads that you can go in and, like Robin does, run your comps, check what's happening in those areas, check the numbers. And now you're like, yep, we've got some good ones here, AJ, let's double down and do more. Versus some areas that you go, we're getting leads in a zombie subdivision, let's take that out of the mix. So sometimes you don't know this stuff, guys, until you're really getting in there and giving those areas a good go. But my number one thing is do some macroeconomic research, but don't overthink it because you'll end up down a rabbit hole and then you're trying to get perfection. There is no such thing as perfection in this business. There's just consistency.
Let me stack on that a little bit, right? Because I love what you said, right? Like there's a lot of little things you can look at, but how what I think about this is when you look into your markets, you should first of all look what is your preferred exit strategy, right? Like
Mm,
how do you want to get out? Because different exit strategies to different markets, right?
right.
I had this the last 2 days. I spoke with like probably 8 or 9 line investors. One of them just does subdivides, but to pay the bills every month because he knows they pay out in 18 months. He has 3 builders in an area, and he just does assignment piece. He buys them a 90% of market value, sells them 100% of market value to the builder, takes 10%, and makes like two, three, $4,000 on every transaction,
Perfect.
right? Because that pays the bills. And he says, like, I do 3 of this a month, all my bills are paid, and I have my income. And then every once in a
Love it.
while, like he does 2 subdivisions a year. He makes like his $500,000-600,000 on top, right?
Love it.
We have other people that want to make like I don't know 100 grand a month. Okay, you can do that in so many minds, but when
Yeah.
start there, start what you really want to create, and then break it down and all that what Alicia explained, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do I find these properties and markets where it is? And I can tell you from my own experience, like, and AJ knows that because she was probably close on a lot of this trial and errors I did on my way. Is in that market where you think it will work, it will not work. It will be the other stream, right? So
And
this
you
is
just
what I can
never
tell
know,
you,
right? It's
right?
so, you
You
cannot predict
never
this
know.
business, guys. Yeah, you
You
cannot
never
predict
know. But
this
when you
business.
find a sweet spot thing in there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then leads me to my next question. So we don't know what's working in marketing. We don't know like what's the market selections. Um,
Can we talk about some strategies that I'm seeing working?
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, great. Because one of them leads into Jay's question here. So, Jay, you've got is most of what you find in terms of land is off market? Yes and no. So, the good thing that we're also leaning into with the strategy is MLS. So, we've got nationwide MLS data, guys, when you work with us. What does that mean? So, we can pull the MLS that have expired because we all know that a lot of people with vacant land that are wanting market value, they put it with a realtor hasn't performed, now they're stuck. They're motivated because they want to sell. They're probably now more motivated and they're willing to come down because the realtor hasn't delivered. So, doing expired MLS listings as part of your data, we always now include that with our data. That's working really, really well. Some other strategies that are working well. If you have got any experience in doing minor subdivides, we've got some customers that are doing some great deals where we're actually pulling single family home data for larger properties that only have one dwelling on them. Okay. And now we're calling them and saying, are you using your whole 10 acres? If not, if your house is on a portion of it, could we split it in half with you and buy the other 5 acres? You've got your house on these 5 acres. What about the other 5 acres? So there's some different creative things that people are looking at there. People are also looking at I know you don't do commercial properties, Robin, but commercial and industrial for rezone opportunities, particularly when they're doing some stuff. Hey Jay, particularly when they're doing some stuff close by. So when you're doing your research into some known markets and you can see that there's residential expansion going on, sometimes it's about going after the properties that are zoned differently and then trying to go in for a rezone for that property. So there's a number of things that are working, guys. And here's what I love about vacant land is you can get quite creative with it. And what Robin came back to before, right? What's the exit strategy for the deal? Is the exit strategy to split off part of the property and sell off those 5 acres? Is the exit strategy a rezone? Is the exit strategy to work with a builder? Is the exit strategy just to flip it for an assignment fee? And so I want you all to think quite openly about a number of different types of exit strategies because every deal will present a different opportunity for you.
Yeah. I would fully agree. I fully agree on that. And you need clearance what you want in your land game. That's a message in that, right? Like, I mean, I play probably 5 or 6 ways of doing the land business, and everybody here does it. But find that and know where you are at and stay in your lane, right? And when it doesn't work anymore, then change. But this is what it probably is, right? Because this is what I love about land. You can play it in any direction you want,
Yeah.
right? And that's so super great. So, um, any question around like market selection, guys? You wanna just like get a little bit deeper there into the weeds, or I have like two more questions I want to ask AJ. It's one of the questions I asked almost
Yeah.
everybody, right? Okay, no, the audience is quiet. Everybody's like, "Wow, what's coming next?" Right? What's the next question? Right? I'm so excited. Cool.
But
I
first of
mean,
all, can I just pause and either give me a thumbs up or a nod your head? Is what I'm saying helping, guys? Okay, Adam's nodding, Jean's nodding, Mario's got a thumbs up. Yep, Adam. Okay, cool, cool, awesome. Because here's the thing. Those that know me, I'm a total open book. You guys can ask me anything and I will give you an honest answer. So if there's something that you want to know, if don't be afraid to come off mute and just go, AJ, what do you think about this? I'll tell you. So yeah, feel free, guys, and I'm glad you're finding it of value. I said to Robin, the last few times I've been on the Lamb Pilot, I've done kind of lots of different slides and stuff, and I wanted to keep this more conversational just so we can organically see where it went. So I'm glad that it's of value. That's awesome, guys.
let's talk a little bit about. I mean, we did now our market research. We know what's working marketing. We get leads.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this like pretty crazy topic about follow up, what nobody really seems to understand. I mean,
Mm.
and you always talk about this principle of 7 to 30 touch points, right? Like get it out of the system. I know you want to talk about that. I really know you want to talk about that.
I do. And here's why, guys. Comes back to what I started to talk about earlier, right? We've got to ask ourselves the question, what am I willing to do over and above the next land person next to me? Now, if they're just sending out one offer, and if somebody doesn't respond to that offer, they're not interested, then you've got to ask yourself, well, what can I do over and above that? Because you got to put yourself in the shoes of the landowner. If the landowner is getting people approaching them, sending them offers, calling them, etc., and they're only hearing from that person once, but all of a sudden you come along and they hear from you from a cold call and an appointment introduction. And then they hear from you again when you do your first call follow-up. And then they hear from you again when you make your offer call. Then they hear from you again when you email them the offer. Then when you send them an SMS to follow up on the offer. Then when you call them 2 weeks later because they haven't responded and tell them you're sending the second offer. Then when you send the second offer, then when you follow up that second offer, then when you get the third offer out, in between then you've emailed them. I'm up to 10 already, right? That's only for 2 offers. The whole process of consistency in the human brain, there's a really, really good book from it's called the Seven Factors of Influence by Cialdini. Robert Cialdini is a professor, and that's Cialdini, Robert Cialdini. The Seven Laws of Influence, that's what it's called. Robert Cialdini, and one of them is consistency. So when we are consistent in everything that we say we're going to do, it actually in the human brain creates this sense of comfort, but also it creates a sense of knowing. If you say, like you said it before, Robin, that I'm going to call you on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and I call it Tuesday at 11 o'clock, what happens in the brain of the person that you're calling? Oh, you deliver. You made a promise and you stuck with it. So when you think about your offer strategy, a couple of things let me go back a step, right? When you're running your comps, so Robin did a great comps call earlier this week with some of our customers, and I know he does his calls twice a week as well. When you're running your numbers, I want you to now come up with a range. Now that range might only be like 10%. It might be between, let's say the property's worth 95,000. And you say, okay, my range, I'm going to offer somewhere between 50 and 55,000 because that range still leaves me enough spread in the deal after closing costs to make a $30,000 profit. Again, I'm just talking odd numbers here, guys. So if your range is 50 to 55, well, you start off with your first offer at 50. Even if they say no, send it out anyway. It's like, look, I'm consistent. I do what I say I'm going to do, which I call dwizzywid, do what you say you will do. So I'm going to get you an offer anyway, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in your life with your family, etc. So I'm going to get you an offer anyway, and I'm going to follow up to see if you've got questions. Okay. When your offer expires, so if you're putting 21 days on your offer expiry or 30 days or whatever that might mean, in those 21 days, have another three touch points, an email, a phone call, and an SMS, just to check in. Hey, just seeing if you got questions on the offer or if anything's changed, etc. At day 21, I want you to get our offer too and follow the same process. Hey, I had to think about this property and I've gone back and looked at my numbers. I really desperately do need some inventory in your area and I'm very, very interested in your particular property. I'm going to offer you a couple of $1,000s more. I call it the sugar on top. Okay. So now we're at, say, 52,975. Still got a bit of room to go up to 55. I'm going to send you another offer. Would love to have another conversation with you. I will follow you up tomorrow to make sure you've got it in your inbox because, again, you don't have to mail these guys. Just use DocuSign, PandaDoc, etc. Yeah, let's jump in and talk about offer number two. Again, after that, SMS, email, follow up. Now, 21 days, if they still haven't accepted, out goes offer three. Same process. Now, all of a sudden, if you think about those people that are sending out one offer and if nobody responds, they let it go. If this is a really good property and you know that the numbers work and it ticks all the boxes, do not stop. Keep on going. Now, if you were Ajay Sharma, which I love, Ajay's awesome. If you were Ajay, you'd be calling them every day. But some of us are solopreneurs that we might not have the bandwidth to do that. So set up your systems and processes that at least at a minimum, guys, at a minimum, you're having a touch point at least weekly. Okay, so that offer goes out. If it's 3 weeks, I want a touch point a week. Next one goes out, I want a touch point each week. That consistency will start to build trust with your prospects. But more than anything, even if you don't get the deal after those three offers, when they are ready to sell, do you think they're going to remember you? Yeah, they will. And so you might then, after those three offers, and if you've got an expiry date of 3 weeks, so three offers by 3 weeks, all of a sudden you're talking like a 9 to a 10 or maybe an 11-week cycle. You're talking 2.5 to 3 months of them hearing from you consistently. If you still don't have the deal after that time, you might do a final offer and maybe bump it up even more, or you might put them into your ecosystem when now they start to get just regular communication from you, newsletters, updates, check-in calls once a month just to see if their circumstances have changed. And here's the thing, life happens to people on the daily. Today there might be a no. Tomorrow their partner might go in for a health diagnosis and they don't have insurance and all of a sudden they need to sell. So you just never know when things and life happen to people. So don't give up. Keep it going. And
You
Adam,
know,
looking for a JV partner? No, never too soon to look for a JV partner. If you've got a deal under contract, my friend, you put it out to the universe. You go for it.
that's it. You know, I always say like everybody has every 6 months a life event, right? Look on your own life. Every 6 months something is happening. And I do this thing. I think I have an offer database of like 8,000 offers I ever made in my life, right? And
Yep,
there's some of them in my our oldest CRM that I just keep for that purpose, right? So what I do once a year, I send 8,000 letters. That's like $5,000. In average, I get three deals out of there,
perfect.
right? And you know how many people reach out to you like after 2, 3 years when you made an offer and said like, I wish you would have like contacted me earlier because I lost the
Yeah.
property in a tax deed sale or whatever, right? So I'm just like
I,
really
I would
staying on top
actually
of
do
it.
it. I would do it twice a year, like every 6 months. But here's what I'd also do to minimize your marketing costs on that. So if you're working, and I know you're back working with us, Robin. So when you go to do that next time, give us all the data. We'll re-pull the data and then do a VLOOKUP. Any properties that are already sold, they don't get anything. Okay. No point in mailing it. So making sure that your data is refreshed every time, guys, because again, 10% of properties change hands every year, guys. So making sure that data is refreshed so that, again, mailing addresses, property exchange, probates, all that stuff, you want that fresh data so that you're going to increase that likelihood of a response. But yeah, small amount to get out for 3 or 4 deals that can happen as a result of that, right? Especially if they remember you.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I can just like really encourage everybody. And like, when you don't know Ajay Sharma, listen to Ajay. I had a conversation last weekend. This guy is relentless on the phone. Just call the people, double, triple dial them, just get on there, talk with them. And we just like we spend a lot of time paying attention what our sales team is doing there. Like how much effort do they put in keeping that energy and follow up, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it really is. And you need to have like some system or process in place. And maybe in one of our comms calls, I can share how I did that when we didn't have systems, because I just had a
Mhm.
spreadsheet and where I tracked that per
Yep.
campaign, right? Like when we started working, where I can do that like really, really easily. So maybe you can share that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
should share
we did
that.
that too when we first started, guys. Our CRM was Google Sheets. We had all of our data and we had tabs down the bottom that moved the lead through certain stages, just like you do on a pipeline. So all the raw data, and then it moved into stage one, comps, stage two.
I still think when you don't have more than 30 leads a month for the first year,
Yeah.
you don't need like any kind of a CRM. You just need a spreadsheet and take it from there, right?
Once you
It's where
start getting
people's
deals under contract, then start to, move it into a CRM. Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. Um, let's talk a little bit about reverse engineering of offers. And I talk about that all the time, but I know you're like a big like supporter of this too, right?
Yeah.
Um, how do you calculate DS? Because you do it in exactly the same way. That's the only way that makes sense to me too, right? Like
Yeah.
let's walk. And the guys who are on the console, you hear that every morning, right? Or every second morning of the week, like how we go through that and start here, right? Like so Alicia, be a little bit, show some mercy for them. They hear that
I
every two
will. I
times. Who
will. I
wants to
will.
hear
But
that? You can always log in Tuesdays and Thursdays, $99 a month. You can spend every Tuesday and Thursday morning for 1.5 hours drinking coffee and looking at deals with me, right?
love it.
So, but go
And
ahead. Let's
here's the
talk about
thing,
that.
watch, listen, and learn, right? Even if you don't have deals to bring onto that call, if you can't make that call with Robin, come to my every second Tuesday, because we do live deals with a funding team and they give you assessments on stuff. So just keep connected, guys, because watch, listen, and learn. It's amazing what you'll pick up along the way. But reverse engineering. Okay, couple of things. First of all, pennies on the dollar in the current market, big no-no. If you are out there offering 25 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the dollar, etc. First of all, you're going to get laughed at a lot, right? So I want people really these days to come with an abundance mindset. And that abundance mindset needs to be, how do I create this deal so that the seller is happy, I'm happy, and the next buyer is happy? That all comes back to spreading the deal. And I know in the comps sheet that Robin talks about, you can play around with those numbers to make sure that happens. So let's say there's a property and it's worth 100K. If you set yourself a goal, obviously everyone wants to make as much money as possible, right? So that's got to be why you're in business. We're all in business to make money, guys, correct? What we do with that money and how that adds value to our life and our loved ones, that's all different for each of us if we come back to our why and what Simon Sinek talks about. But we're all in business to make money, okay? Put food on the table, pay the bills. How much you want to make per month then comes back to your numbers on how much marketing you do, how many deals, how many offers you make, and how many of those convert to a deal. Now, if you wanted to make a minimum, say, $20,000 profit per deal, by the way, that's good. Obviously, if you want to make $60,000, $70,000 profit per deal, that's awesome. Those deals do happen. But let's be realistic. So if you wanted to make, say, $15,000 or $20,000 profit per deal, if you've got a property that's a $100,000 property, and you go and offer 65 to $70,000 on that, after closing costs, you're going to make you 20K. But here's the thing that I do want you to think about. Number one, you're going to have sellers that are going to be more receptive to that because you're not bottom of the barrel. Okay. So you'll get more responses. Number two, you can rework the numbers so that it works for everyone. Number three, it means that your success rate and your conversion rate is going to be better. And if you are less greedy and you can do more deals, you're going to get more stuff in your back pocket, right? So when we try and go in too low too fast, We can't reverse engineer those numbers too well because people are just going to slam the phone down on you or not even look at your mailer. So start to have that mindset about spread in the deal, how much minimum you need to make per deal in order to make that happen. And I guarantee you'll get more deals by thinking of it that way rather than thinking, how do I get this for as cheap as possible? Okay. Now, the only caveat being, if you do need a lender on that deal, obviously then you're going to be needing to get it under contract for a lot less. So then think about those locations and states that maybe you don't need a lender in the deal unless you want to lock it up at the end of the day. Two of the lenders that I work with, Mason McDonald and Dan Haberkost from Ground Up Land, they only look for the fact that it must have a minimum $20,000 profit in the deal. They actually don't care what you get it under contract for. So there are lenders out there that will lend based upon the potential of that deal, not just what you got it under contract for. Have I
Short,
answered your question, Robin?
I, I have a short question out of
Yes,
this.
Mario.
Uh, do you also take care when, for example, the owner has bought the property 2 years or 3 years ago and the price he paid for it or he invested? So does this also has an influence on your decision, what offer you made, or do you also take care on this? Or
No, I tend to not look at that because if they're having a conversation with you, they're motivated. If they're
Mhm.
open to discussing offers and things like that, they've obviously got a reason as to why they're having that conversation, or they wouldn't be on the phone with you at all. What I would say though is let's just say that 2 or 3 years ago they bought it in a market high, because obviously in COVID, guys, things got a little crazy. So let's say they bought it, we'll use that $100,000 property, right? Let's say they bought it for 120 and your comps are coming out now to say it's really only worth 100. So number one, always be honest with the prospect. Like, don't try and BS them around the place, guys. Always be honest and say, look, I can see what other properties are selling for in the area. And as an investor, here's what I can pay. Now, I know you bought it 3 years ago and maybe your plans have changed. So there's a couple of things that you can do, Mr. or Mrs. Seller. Number one, you can cut your losses and write those losses off against other assets or things so that you can create a benefit elsewhere. Or number two, you could even do a 1031 exchange into other property so that you're still making use of the capital and just getting a bit creative with it. But I can't give you 120 to recoup because you just bought in a high market. And unfortunately, that happens to all of us, right? We all buy things in a high market. And then when we go to sell them, when the market shifted, that's life. So be honest with them, give them some alternatives. Obviously, you're not a financial advisor or financial planner, but get them to go and seek some of that stuff about a 1031 exchange or a tax write-off when you're writing off losses. Get them to go and speak to their accountant about that because they might then see that holding on to the property is actually not the best use of where their capital's sitting.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I can just give you like some heads up on like how you really bring the offer amounts up, and that's offer on a financing, guys, right?
Right.
Like we do that right now on two deals, and we could bring the sales price up by around 10% to 15%, the purchase price, right? Through going with the seller in the contract. For the one guy does $0 down and 4% interest rate. The other one
Wow.
does on a $200,000 deal, $5,000 down and 7% interest rate for a year,
Love
right?
it.
And he wants accrued interest. He doesn't even want to have interest payments, right? He says, "I'm good. He will take good care of my property," but suddenly he's closer to the number he wants, right? And this is how you really leverage by learning about creative deal strategies, creative ways of approaching that.
Yep.
We talk a lot about that in the comms calls too, right? I mean, Glenn is always on the calls, right? I see him here. You can probably sign off on that, right? It's just like really getting into the depths of the deal and understanding how can you make it happen. Because this is what we got, guys. This is what we are, right? We're just like
We're deal
deal
makers.
man, we're deal
Yep.
makers. That's the right word, right? We're
We're
deal makers.
relationship makers and deal makers because you've got to start with relationship first, guys. I always say never forget that we're dealing with people and they have lives, they have families, they have problems. We're always dealing with a human, right? So come at this business from a heart space of how do I really help someone here and not try and just make as much money as possible because they'll sense that. They really do. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely love that. AJ, there was so much like wisdom and insight, and I always love to have you here. So, um, let's get a little round of applause, but we're not over. Let's go in a little bit Q&A, right? And if you don't have any question, I always have questions, right? Is there anything you want to ask AJ, me, or whoever else? Maybe you want to ask Mario something, right? How he does his good beard,
Adam
or
White
like
just
the
put up his hand. Mr.
oh,
Adam
Adam
White,
White.
come on down.
Just get it rolling, brother.
Hey guys.
Hey.
So I've been at this for a couple few years, and we've done different marketing campaigns. And generally, we have, we pulled a list, we've sent to a county, and then you find, uh, you know, that there's a lot of deals that you want to look at that kind of check all the boxes, and then there's a lot of other deals, and they're kind of like. Yeah, they're really kind of smaller deals, or they're not really all that great. So I focused on doing, higher volume, 20 to 100K plus deals when what you're making on it. And then I noticed I've seen, some of the other land coaches and people like Robin where they have another site where they go to. There's like a land trust, and they have a place to kind of put that inventory, I guess, and just kind of put it out there for seller financing. I haven't actually implemented a strategy for that, but I feel like I've left a lot of, some of the
You left
less
some deals on the
desirable deals,
table.
but they left some deals on the table because I had to kind of put attention on the main deals, the
Yeah.
main
Yep.
deals. And I know that I'm going to be firing up the next campaign here for the year
Yep.
and for the coming soon. So when these things come along, I would like to have maybe an alternative disposition strategy
Yeah. I love it,
for
Adam.
less than ideal properties, and it's just something I'm not very familiar with.
And can I pick up on one thing you've said? I think this is a really important distinction when you were like, these deals are these other ones that are not that great. I can't think of the words that you use, but here's what I want you to all take away from this. You are not your end buyer. Your end buyer is your end buyer. Now, we currently hold in our business quite a few notes on properties. I guarantee that more than 50% of those notes that we hold are what I would call crappy pieces of land that I would never want to live on. But we've got people that are putting a mobile home on them. We've got people that are using them to put a storage, not commercial storage, but like a shed on where one guy's put all his cars in there. So, again, you're not your end buyer. So always what I would say is if the numbers work, put it out to the market and see what happens. Now, if it's not a deal that you can make work, make use of the Facebook groups, guys, and say, hey, I've got this property under contract. Doesn't really fit my strategy. I forget who it was the other week that actually said someone in one of the groups, I think it was in the I think it was actually on Ari Tipster. I can't remember the guy's name, but he specifically did a post and said, if you've got wetland properties, I want them because I know how to mitigate them. I know how to treat them. I know what to do. So always, guys, use the networks to make
Who is
sure that
he?
I can't remember his name, but I'll have to go back through Facebook and try and find it. Because it's really interesting, right? So yeah, Adam, I love that. Let's look at how we bring in some of those smaller deals because they're often the ones that are perfect for notes and
Yeah, right.
self-financing to get really good, for people that can't afford to buy a $50,000 property, but they can afford a $15,000 property over 5 years at a 10 or a 12% interest rate. Beautiful. Awesome to cash flow. Yeah. I'm just going
And
to answer the question here from Jay Miller. Probate properties, how do they generally come to your attention? Yeah. Couple of things there is in the data, you want to look for things that are intra-family transfers. You want to look for quit claim deeds because often when a probate's happened, the transaction is a quit claim deed as the instrument to take that from one to the next. Trusts. Always make sure you've got family trusts in your data, guys. We've done some amazing deals with trusts. And the other thing is the transaction amount is $100 or less. So when you're looking at sale price, because there needs to be some kind of monetary value where it's changed hands. So often title companies will say, Just make it a $10 transaction or a $100 transaction, just so on paper it's transacted. That's what we often look for in the data that will likely lead to probate deals.
So
Just think if there's any
I
questions.
lost my thought over that, right? There was like no what I wanted to say is every lead is a lead,
Yeah,
right? No matter if it fits in your strategy right now or not, right? When the lead comes across and is willing to sell, you make an offer, right? And no matter if you sign it or do whatever, I can tell you, like we just always pick every year like inventory up, just like for notes, for little notes, right? Like it's probably properties under $10,000. We just want to sell them. It's always a couple of dozens, or maybe like
yep,
this time it will probably be 200, right? We're working on that right now. We're closing on next week on Friday. Um, like a huge package. And I know this is mailbox money for the next 20 years, right? Because our structure is that people default and they come back and you sell it again and again and again and again, right? So this is what it is. Everybody is always so great to do all this marketing and all of that,
yeah,
but never let leads go, man. I sold all kinds of properties in my life. I can tell you that. And when you don't know, right? There's a great book, Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy, who not just always find the right who to make it happen, right, guys, right?
yeah,
I know, like, for example, I have a partnership with somebody that Alicia and me met at Family Mastermind, right, where we're together in, and that guy is looking for entitled deals. We brought him this year already, like I think 25 properties. We will sign LOIs on three of them, and he pays really nice assignment fees because we did the filtering process and we didn't know how to do that, and we had a bunch of people that were sitting on entitled properties, right?
yep,
So it's always about like find the right who's, right, and that's
yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. And speaking of the who's, so Adam White, I just put in the chat box, when you do get to the stage that you've got a deal that the numbers might work for seller financing, you guys might know him, JT Olmsted. He's a good friend of mine. He's awesome. Really, really cool guy. He's made this fantastic software that manages and sets up all of your seller finance notes for you. It's the best I've seen on the market. So if you're not friends with JT Olmsted on Facebook, guys, friend him. He will be more than happy to get on a call and go through his software with you guys. Really, really reasonable, and he's crafted it like to perfection, better than anything
We
else.
will move our whole note portfolio to him. He's an incredible guy
Yeah,
to
he's
to know,
great.
right?
He's really
Um,
good. Yeah, and
that's
his
what it
strategy,
is.
by the way, guys, and he won't mind me saying this, he sends out, he literally sends out like 20, 30,000 blind offers at one time. All the leads come in. They work like crazy to get them all under contract and sell them. And then he takes 6 months off and goes traveling with his family. So he's all about work, 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 and then play, play, play. So again, you create these lives and you create your cadence based upon how you want to work, which I think is really cool. Jay's also got, thanks. How often do you see city-owned land designated for specific types of development? And you may match the city plans to the right developers if the city doesn't yet have the right contracts. Oh, great question. I'm actually going to say that that's the first time anyone's actually ever asked me that. Most people want, when we're doing data for people, guys, and we're doing marketing, most of them want us to take out any land that is owned by the city or the county. So that's maybe a bit of an untapped market. I think that's worth looking at and exploring, right? And how do you do it? Just do a test. Grab some of the right things. The catch 22 when you're going after city-owned property, though, is speaking to the decision maker. That's the bit that gets challenging, right? Because if it's owned by the city, well, who do you talk to then negotiate the deal? So that's the only part that's difficult there. But I think it's an untapped thing and maybe worth exploring. We've got 5 minutes left, and I can see that Robin's gone to his thinking place.
Yeah, I wanted to say something smart about that, but I don't know anything smart about that because that was everything in that.
I don't think there's
You
anything smart
sometimes you
to
don't
say.
need to take yourself so serious, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just like a full period stop, right? So that's what it is.
All that I would say about it is J Miller. And J Miller, I'm sorry, I don't know your first name, so I keep saying J Miller. But what I would say is go and do some investigation into that. If you're currently in a specific county doing deals, give city planning and zoning a call and ask what they do with properties that are owned by the city. What's their approach for that? Is there a plan for that? What are the different types of properties that they want people to develop? Like, just do some investigating in that, and then reverse engineer what they give you into a strategy. Give it a go. It's great. I love it.
This is like what I always say, America is like Alice in Wonderland. You can just like see something and you can do it, guys. This is like it's the land of all possibilities, right? So it's you can do literally everything you want. And I have seen, man, I talked to a guy today, and he his whole life he just made small shiny small shitty deals, right, that nobody else would to do. And he sits on a note portfolio of 550 notes that pay him in average $200 a month.
200,000 a month or $200 a month?
$200 a month, 550 times
Oh, each
200.
of them, right.
Who is good at math? How much is 550 times 200?
Yeah, we should all know that, right?
It's 110,000, guys.
Yeah.
Right. I prepared that with my calculator before here, right? So I just wanted to let you know. But like that's $1.2 million he's just doing there, right? It's like really have your end goal in mind and structure your business around that end goal. This is what
Yeah.
it really is. And entrepreneurs, like the greater they are, the better solutions they find on the greater problems of everything, right? So this is why probably Elon Musk is so successful. I don't know if we can still talk about them and political things,
Well,
like if he is like
can I
a
make a quick
persona non
announcement
grata.
then?
But like, hey, he built like some of the biggest solutions on planet Earth, right? And or Steve Jobs was Apple, or
You did. You did. Can,
yeah,
can
like
I, Robin,
yeah,
can I
go
make a
ahead.
quick announcement? Because you just literally, my brain just when you mentioned Elon Musk. So guys, get this. Um, we're about to soon announce, but we are going to be merging with some other companies. Supercharged offers will not change as it is at the moment, but we're going to be rolling up into a new company called Property 365. And the main component of that, it's going to be an all-in-one marketplace where you can buy, sell, fund, transact, close, everything all on the one. But here's the kicker. We're going to be tokenizing and using NFT and blockchain to actually have properties that will become tokenized in an instant. And now with tokenization, and for those that are into blockchain and the next emerging trend there, it's called Web3. So when people are Web3 ready, they can use crypto and blockchain and NFTs, whatever, to transact on anything. So we're going to be setting up an infrastructure that allows you to even tokenize or put an NFT on a property. And Web3 lenders, and let me tell you, there's thousands of them out there that have billions of dollars to spend. Now you can lend against your NFT and your token without the need for a HELOC, without the need for a bank, without Mario's brain just exploded. So we're
Mine
working
too.
at it.
Mine
Yeah,
too, guys. Who knows what she's talking about? I don't have a clue, but probably it's the future, right?
well, Elon Musk,
Probably
if
it's
you
the
look at
future.
Elon and Trump, they've put in a czar of tokenization and blockchain. Or should I say cryptocurrency, right? So the banks have also just announced that this week there was a big announcement that banks are now going to become custodians for cryptocurrency. So the future's here. We're already looking at things around how do we use tokenization to protect titles? How do we use blockchain to make sure that ownership can be segmented? And now you've got people from all around the world that can buy a property together in the click of a button. So there's going to be some really, really cool stuff coming, guys. We're doing a seed round at the moment for our first capital raise, which we're super excited about. We've got some really amazing companies. One's called Zonic. They actually do all of the blockchain tokenization for Bank of America. We're talking big businesses here, which is really cool. So lots more to come on that and lots of exciting things to announce. And that means that we're going to be able to offer even more for our customers, which is really cool.
I love that.
Future's here.
Future's here. The future is here.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for staying on with us for the last hour. I would close it off, right? And I mean, I wouldn't say ladies first, and this time ladies last. Thank you so much for listening. Alicia, I give you the closeout. See you next week, and bye bye, guys.
Yeah, I will just before you hang up. So Breeze just asked if there was a link for the website on that. Breeze, I've just put the link down there before Robin closes it, just so it's there. So it's property365.scoreup.com. That's just got the information on the seed round that we're doing. And thanks, Breeze, and what a little bit about the project. So if you wanted to hear more, even if you don't want to invest, guys, you can fill that in, and then I get an NDA over to you. We'll give you all the investor information, and you can see what we're doing. There's some really cool stuff. So yeah, here's to the future. Robin, thank you so much for having me on. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you got some value out of that. And good to see some beautiful smiling faces on here. And we'll see you all again soon.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye-bye.